Eddie Munson's death hit hard, but what if that wasn't the end? Between wild theories, eyebrow-raising footage, and his unfinished story, there's real reason to believe Eddie might come back in Stranger Things Season 5, but not necessarily as a hero. Today we're diving into Joseph Quinn's cryptic comment, clues from official footage, and why Eddie's return could be the darkest twist yet. So if you like behind-the-scenes breakdowns like this, hit like and subscribe. It seriously supports the channel and helps us bring you more videos like this. Welcome to Screen Scramble. Let's dive in. Why Eddie Munson's death still hurts. Eddie Munson wasn't another fan favorite. He became a symbol of everything Stranger Things gets right. Introduced in Season 4 as the Dungeon Master of Hawkins High's Hellfire Club, Eddie quickly went from misunderstood outcast to beloved hero. His guitar-shredding master of puppets moment in the Upside Down was instantly iconic, but it ended in tragedy. Eddie was swarmed by demobats and died protecting his friends, but his body was never recovered. That choice stung for many fans. His arc was rich, emotionally charged, and cut short as we got to know him. The show's creators, the Duffer Brothers, admitted Eddie's death was one of the hardest decisions they've made. The backlash was immediate. Justice for Eddie trended for weeks. Viewers mourned his loss and questioned whether the story had closed the door on him. In Stranger Things, death isn't always the end, and the fallout from Eddie's sacrifice is rippling through Hawkins and through the characters closest to him. Joseph Quinn's TEASE and DUSTIN'S grief. In an interview with Entertainment Tonight last year, Joseph Quinn addressed the show's final season, and his words were anything but straightforward. When asked about Eddie's potential return, Quinn responded with a grin. "I might have that feeling too. Or maybe I don't. I don't know. Who knows?" It's vague but telling. Actors under NDA rarely say more than they're allowed, and this quote walks the line between playful and revealing. Quinn's acknowledgement of fan theories, paired with his refusal to outright deny them, adds fuel. Recent set photos show Gaten Matarazzo, who plays Dustin, filming scenes at a vandalized gravesite marked Edward Munson, now at peace, with graffiti like "Burn in Hell" spray painted across the tombstone. While no confrontation is confirmed, fan theories suggest Dustin may face off with bullies at the cemetery, defending Eddie's legacy from those blaming him. In Hawkins, Eddie is blamed by some townsfolk for opening the Hellmouth. The satanic panic narrative from Season 4 hasn't faded, and the Hellfire Club's legacy remains tainted. Dustin, who watched Eddie die, now carries the emotional weight of loss. And if Eddie does return, corrupted, demonic, or weaponized by the Upside Down, Dustin's arc could be heading toward one of its most devastating turns yet. Gaten Matarazzo explained how that moment haunts Dustin in Season 5. He has dealt with loss in the past. He's seen horrible things, but to have a very close friend of his brutally die, not there in front of him, but directly with him, is another thing. The one thing I'm always thinking about going into it is that we don't necessarily see it happen, but Dustin would have had to have left Eddie there to get out and leave himself. Flight of Icarus and the missing pieces. One of the biggest pieces of canon pointing to Eddie's importance is the prequel novel Flight of Icarus. Released after Season 4, the book explores Eddie's life in the months leading up to the events in Hawkins, fleshing out his home life, dreams of becoming a musician, and his complicated relationship with his absent father, Al Munson. The story isn't a tribute, it adds new emotional layers. Eddie wasn't aimless. He had ambition, heart, and untapped potential. It makes his death sting more, but Flight of Icarus might also be laying the groundwork for his return. The novel ends with unresolved tension. Eddie feels on the verge of change, like he's finally ready to step into the person he wants to be. It sets him up as a character who has unfinished business. It's so vivid, some fans have even floated the idea of adapting Flight of Icarus into its own Netflix special. If Season 5 chooses to bring Eddie back, even briefly, it wouldn't be fan service. It would close a loop that's already been quietly building since his introduction, and the tragedy of that arc could deepen if he returns not as a savior, but as a symbol of what Vecna can corrupt. The Kaz Theory. VECNA'S Dark Pawn. This is where things get wild. One of the most persistent theories since Season 4 aired is that Eddie Munson will return as Kaz the Bloody-Handed, a character pulled straight from Dungeons & Dragons lore. In the game's mythology, Kaz was Vecna's most trusted lieutenant, a powerful vampire who wielded the Sword of Kaz, a weapon forged by Vecna himself. But in a twist of fate, Kaz turned against his master, betraying and nearly destroying him. That betrayal is what cemented Cass as a legendary figure in D&D. Now apply that to Eddie. He died after being attacked by bats, a vampire's classic symbol. There was no body recovered, and the show has never shied away from drawing parallels to D&D mythology, especially with characters like Vecna and the Mind Flayer. Eddie's death by bats wasn't just brutal, it was symbolic. In the lore of Stranger Things, nothing is accidental, so when fans saw him torn apart by winged creatures of the Upside Down, the theory practically wrote itself. He wasn't killed, he was marked. A transformation was already underway, and while it may sound far-fetched, the idea of Vecna reanimating Eddie as a servant and enforcer is rooted in more than speculation. If Eddie is resurrected as a pawn of Vecna, Season 5 could deliver one of its most emotionally charged confrontations, because this version of Eddie wouldn't be the same metalhead we loved. He'd be something darker, something Vecna controls. Hints hiding in the teaser footage. While the Season 5 teaser is mostly a retrospective, it does include brief shots of new footage, and a few of them hint at Eddie's shadow lingering over the story. One key moment shows Dustin and Steve exploring the Upside Down again, but Dustin looks noticeably bruised and shaken. Paired with those graveyard set photos, it suggests he's dealing with Eddie's loss. Could Steve be supporting an emotionally distraught Dustin by searching for Eddie's body, hoping for closure? And if they do find him, would it be the Eddie they remember, or a version of him they could never have imagined? We also see the military stationed inside a fortified facility, guns drawn, floodlights flaring, surrounding a large hatch that's beginning to buckle under pressure. A glowing red light pulses from beneath the surface, hinting something from the Upside Down is forcing its way through. And if Vecna is rebuilding strength, who better to use as a vessel than someone the heroes cared about? Another major clue comes from the new episode titles. One is called The Sorcerer, likely referencing Will's D&D character, but another stands out more: Escape from Camazotz. In Mayan mythology, Camazotz is a bat god tied to death, sacrifice, and the underworld. He's often depicted as a humanoid bat who acts as a messenger between realms, fitting symbolism for someone caught between life and death. The parallels to Eddie are hard to ignore. His death was sacrificial, his body never recovered, and his connection to the demobats was forged in fire and sound. If Vecna needed a general for his army, Eddie, reborn in the image of Camazotz, might be the perfect choice. Dustin versus Eddie, the most painful twist yet. So what happens if Eddie does return, but not as himself? Imagine this: Dustin, already carrying guilt over Eddie's death, comes face to face with a reanimated version of his friend. But this Eddie is colder, controlled, possibly violent. Would Dustin try to reach him, or would he have to make the impossible choice? Fight the person who once sacrificed himself to save him. This wouldn't be the first time Stranger Things forced its characters to confront someone they once knew in a vile and unrecognizable form. In Season 3, Billy was possessed by the Mind Flayer, turning Max's brother, who bullied the group in Season 2, into a brutal weapon. That arc was painful, not because Billy was beloved, but because he was Max's family. But Eddie and Dustin's bond is something else entirely, built on laughter, trust, and loyalty. Seeing that connection torn apart would hit harder and push the emotional stakes to a whole new level. Dustin wouldn't be able to do it alone. He'd need his friends, especially Eleven. If Eddie becomes Vecna's lieutenant, only Eleven might be strong enough to break the control. Will Stranger Things pull the trigger? The biggest question now is, will the Duffer Brothers do it? Bringing back Eddie, especially in a twisted, tragic form, would be bold, but it would also give the final season something Stranger Things thrives on: emotional risk. We've already seen how much thought went into Flight of Icarus. We've seen Joseph Quinn remain coy in interviews. Fan theories evolved from speculation into grounded possibility. And we've seen hints in the trailer suggest Eddie's presence is felt, both by the characters and the story. The showrunners have said Season 5 will close every major arc. If Eddie's arc isn't finished, and many fans would argue it isn't, then his return, no matter how brief, might be the final piece. Maybe he's a pawn or redeemed, long enough to say goodbye. But if Stranger Things wants to go out with the kind of emotional weight it built its name on, Eddie Munson's encore might be the hidden surprise no one's ready for, but everyone will remember. And if the show doesn't bring Eddie back, the legacy he leaves behind may find its way to the screen. Could the flirtation of Flight of Icarus be adapted into a Netflix special, something that fills in Eddie's backstory backstory visually for a broader audience. It's not confirmed, but it shows how invested viewers are in his journey, and how much story potential remains on the table. Let me know your theories in the comments. And if you missed our deep dive on the Stranger Things time loop theory, it's a must-watch companion to this one and on screen now. If you want more deep dives like this, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. And until next time, scrambled out.